It's just like, if you have time to be exposed to this and you feel the inspiration to do so, this is your place. So we continue with the incredible chapters of A Course in Miracles, chapter 25 to 27. They have titles. Chapter 25 in the blue book is the justice of God, and 26 is the transition, and 27 is the healing of the dream. In the Old text, it's the body and the dream. All right, so we have a certain practice that we do here, and that is I select certain parts of the chapters. So this is the formula. Like, there are certain parts of the chapters that are absolutely essential for that chapter. They are characteristic for that chapter. And that's given to me, what to use. So that's what I trust. I use these paragraphs, and it's like, wow, that's so incredible how that's, the succession of that is so useful. Now, for instance, with chapter 25, we start with some expressions about the body. Now, it's really great. You know, it's like, it is all one thing. So it's like 100% consistent. So you take a part out of it, but still that combines perfectly with another part, because literally it's the same. And you will discover that. And when you, so it doesn't even matter how much of it I use. I use quite a bit, but that's just because I love to expose this. I love to show you how beautiful this is, or how helpful this is. Certain aspects that you didn't even think about. So that's why we stand still with that. And that's a lot. So after one chapter you might say like, oh, wow, that's sufficient for me today. And that's perfectly all right. So you come back the next time, or you watch this on YouTube. It's wonderful. Like, there's a lot of possibilities to return back to it. And so every chapter I probably got like 5 or 6 paragraphs out of the whole chapter, which is like an hour reading. I saw this in the recordings that I made from all the chapters. I literally read all the chapters and recorded it. These chapters now are about 1 hour long in reading it. So we take out of every chapter maybe 5 paragraphs and use that to come to a deeper connection with it, to start to recognize more of what it says. And see that as a superficial introduction, even though we go really deeply into it, it's still a superficial introduction. In other words, you could spend a month with one chapter and see that it's so rich and total in its expression. And I'm not exaggerating. It's really true. It's like, this is great inspiration for specific instruction that you receive, and this you can literally ask for. It's like, what chapter shall I read today, or what part shall I read today? Now, this is how I got to what I'm sharing with you right now too. The Christ, and we were in touch with the Christ, with the first expression of today is like, the Christ inspires all miracles. Well, the Christ in you inhabits not a body, yet he is in you. And thus it must be that you are not within a body. What is within you cannot be outside. And it is certain that you cannot be apart from what is at every center of your life. At the very center of your life. Like, you cannot be apart from what is at the very center of your life. What gives you life cannot be housed in death. No more can you. So like, why is the word death used here? Because the body is like an idea of, it is finite. It will end at a certain point. So the symbology is then death. No more can you. Christ is within a frame of holiness, whose only purpose is that he may be made manifest to those who know him not. that he may call to them to come to him and see him where they thought their bodies were. Then will their bodies melt away, that they may frame his holiness in them. Well, that's a very specific expression. So the Christ inhabits not a body. So this is great stuff to work with in our Beyond the Body 40 days. This is like the pure inspiration. It's like the Christ is not within a body. So neither are you. You cannot be within a body. Like you're everywhere. You're not locatable in a body. Now this is a new idea that you have to get used to that. Like you have to be reminded of that many times. But here is some kind of like, here's an inspiration, really. It's what it is. It's like this holiness of you is within you and you cannot lose it. And this holiness is really like your wholeness. That what is your beingness, that is what is your soul, you could say, or what your totality is. It has not to do with separate parts. It has not to do with something that is finite, or that seems to be walking around on a planet, or something like this. It's like, no, this is an awareness, it's consciousness. It has nothing to do with a form directly. And so here we sink deeply into it, because here it says like, when you accept that idea completely, you see that the body will melt away. Now that sounds like, what is that about? Now, in fact, you saw with the meditation, this is a nice example, in fact, you saw with the meditation that you can literally be transported out of this construct for just a moment. You lose track of it because you become so relaxed and so still that you forget where you are. And you forget who you are in the sense of this body walking around on earth. No, for a moment you didn't feel your body at all. You shifted into something else. And this is literally what is being shared here. It's like your body will melt away. Like your bodily concerns will become of little interest or no interest at all. Like that changes, that shifts in this what is occurring to you. Now the miracle, where we're like the miracle worker, the miracle is then really the moment in which that actually happens. So you shift out of body awareness into spirit awareness. So that's the shift that you feel. Suddenly you don't even know that you can move your hand, for instance. Now you're in the experience of being out of that. Now this is exactly what the miracle is. It literally takes you out of time. It takes you out of an idea of a continuity of time in which you seem to function. So how can you manifest the Christ in you except to look on holiness and see him there? Perception tells you, perception with your eyes tells you that you are manifest in what you see. Behold the body, and you will believe that you are there. And everybody that you look upon reminds you of yourself, your sinfulness, your evil, and above all, your death. If you look around, you are confronted with an idea of death. You open up your news app and you're confronted with death. Or you look around you, when you use your eyes, you're confronted with an idea of death. And would you not despise the one who tells you this and seek his death instead? The message and the messenger are one, and you must see your brother as yourself. Framed in his body, you will see your sinfulness, wherein you stand condemned. Set in his holiness, the Christ in him proclaims himself as you. So in other words, this idea of perception becomes very important. What is it that you're looking for, literally? Are you looking for the holiness in your brother? Are you wanting to see him in his totality? Or are you using your eyes to see differences, to see, in fact, sinfulness of evil or death? Like it's up to you what you want your brother to be. But only one of those is real. Now that one that is forever is real. That one that changes and that will, say, die, so to speak, in your perception of it, isn't real, because your essence is life eternal. It has nothing to do with death. So this is the confusion that you walked around in for a long time. Like we've been in that for quite a while. And we really believe it, that it's our reality, that we are this fleshy body walking on planet Earth, bumping into other bodies and seeing that it's all temporal, and you might as well make the best of it before you die. Or something like this. Yeah, you have your own inspiration to look for your comfort and safety. Now here, in what is shared here, is a totally different story. This has nothing to do with your body. If you choose to see your brother's holiness, how do you see your brother's holiness? In fact, you start to recognize him as the light that you recognize in yourself. That is the occurrence. Like that's where the healing takes place too. Just like we did in our meditation. Suddenly you weren't even aware that there is someone else. No, you were in your experience. You suddenly were lifted out of your construct of thinking. And that is really what the miracle is. But that's also what will remind you of the holiness of your brother, because he is literally one with you in that. You cannot find him in that sense. You cannot find him as a separate one somewhere else. No, he's included in your consciousness. Literally, there's no boundaries at all within your consciousness. But you can experience the communication with your brother, absolutely. And you can recognize his holiness and, say, become happy with doing that, recognizing that that's a shared moment of this holiness. So all these things, if in fact, I'm describing miracles here. That is a miraculous encounter that you have with your brother. You are lifted out of your situation as you defined by your own definitions, by your eyes, by trusting what you see, by defining him as this other entity somewhere. Or you open your consciousness literally and cannot find him as a separate one, but actually join with him in the totality that you experience in yourself. All right, so I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can, but as clear too. And that's given to me too. Like I don't have to do anything for that, but it just happens. So you are the means for God, not separate, nor with a life apart from his. Here, there you go. You are the means for God, not separate, nor with a life apart from his. His life is manifest in you, who are his son. And Father and Son are inseparable. Like each aspect of himself is framed in holiness and perfect purity, in love celestial, and so complete it wishes only that it may release all that it looks upon unto itself. Its radiance shines through each body that it looks upon, and brushes all its darkness into light merely by looking past it to the light. The veil is lifted through its gentleness, and nothing hides the face of Christ from its beholders. You and your brothers stand before him now to let him draw aside the veil that seems to keep you separate and apart. So this is so lovely to read this. That's pretty amazing. This is so incredible. You are the means for God, not separate, nor with a life apart from his. His life is manifest in you who are his son. Well, that's logic, right? It does make sense. Each aspect of himself is framed in holiness and perfect purity, in love celestial, and so complete it wishes only that it may release all that it looks upon unto itself. Wow. And this is you as the Christ. Its radiance shines through each body that it looks upon and brushes all its darkness into light merely by looking past it to the light. The veil is lifted through its gentleness, and nothing hides the face of Christ from its beholders. You and your brother stand before him now, to let him draw aside the veil that seems to keep you separate and apart. Wow. The Son of God could never sin, but he can wish for what would hurt him. And he has the power to think that he can be hurt. What could this be except a misperception of himself? Is this a sin or a mistake? Forgivable or not? Does he need help or condemnation? Is it your purpose that he be saved or damned? Forgetting not that what he is to you will make this choice your future. For you make it now the instant when all time becomes a means to reach a goal. Make then your choice, but recognize that in this choice the purpose of the world you see is chosen and will be justified. See, but recognize that in this choice the purpose of the world you see is chosen and will be justified. Now, what does this say? See, look at the questions. The Son of God could never sin, but he can wish for what would hurt him. And he has the power to think he can be hurt. What could this be except a misperception of himself? Like, it is a mistake, right? It is a mistake. Why would he do that? We were just talking about the perfect holiness, the perfect purity. So that to think differently about yourself would be a mistake and not a sin. And it's totally forgivable. Does he need help or condemnation? Of course he needs help. He just forgot. What is his purity, his perfect purity? Is it your purpose that he be saved or damned? Of course you're going to save him. You don't want to damn him. So this is in fact a choice you make with anyone you meet. And that's very confronting. Yeah, that's very confrontative, in fact. It's like everyone you meet, you make a decision of condemnation, of forgiveness, or you say you let go of the idea, recognizing that you want to stay in touch with your own holiness. You want to see beyond the picture. You want to see the face of Christ in him. You don't want to see anything else. So in your mistake in your confusion for a moment about who you are, so you can decide to hurt yourself. You have the power to decide to hurt yourself. This is what we call free will. Like, you have free will to choose whatever you want. Nobody's going to stop you, but know what you're doing. Now this is in the training of A Course in Miracles, an essential point. Like, what is it that I'm asking for? Am I aware what I'm actually asking for? Can I be in touch with that? Or is it just an automatic pattern that I let roll? And now you become aware, like especially after we have had a meditation or when you do your lesson, you come in touch with this perfect purity that takes you out of any kind of construct that you entertained before. You come in touch with your purity. Now you look into the world in a different way, at least for some time. You might reconsider everything again. You might forget about it, and suddenly you have you condemn someone, and you feel the pain of that, like it's killing you that you did what you did. You made a mistake, or someone else made a mistake, and it seemed to hurt you. Someone else made a mistake. Now here it is like, okay, are you condemning him or are you forgiving him? That's up to you. Are you going to make a point out of it and make it real that he was attacking you and that he has hurt you and blah blah blah? Or are you saying like, or are you coming to the action of forgiveness, recognizing that what happened was a mistake? It was a call for help. It was not anything else. Apparently when I choose, whether conscious of that or not, to hurt myself, I need help. I don't need condemnation. I don't need to be condemned not by anyone, not by God, not by your brother. No, you in fact ask for help. That is what you do. So this, like I said, this choice you make continuously with everyone you meet. Somebody makes a mistake, or you make a mistake. Now, what are you going to do? Do you think that you need to be condemned for that? That you need to be punished for that? Or is it okay to recognize that you need help, that you made a mistake and it needs to be corrected? So that makes this course always so direct, in fact. And I love it about that. That really does something with you. Like you cannot be neutral in this. It's either this thing, or like you either punish or you forgive. There's nothing in between of that. Okay, so you, maker of a world that is not so, take rest and comfort in another world where peace abides. You felt that in the meditation too. It's like there's another world where peace abides. I love to hang out there. It's great. So you, maker of a world that is not so, take rest and comfort in another world where peace abides. This world you bring with you to all the weary eyes and tired hearts that look on sin and beat its sad refrain. From you can come their rest. From you can rise a world they will rejoice to look upon, and where their hearts are glad. In you there is a vision that extends to all of them and covers them in gentleness and light. See, this is your new inspiration. This world you bring, this new world, this other world where peace abides, you bring that with you to all the weary eyes and tired hearts that look on sin and beat its sad refrain. From you can come their rest. From you can come their rest. From you can rise a world they will rejoice to look upon. So you inspire your brother. Literally, you shine your light into your brother. You inspire them to take another look at something. They start to experience something else. And where their hearts are glad. In you there is a vision that extends to all of them and covers them in gentleness and light. So that's really beautiful. So this is the part, oh, here's one more. It's like, what is dependable except God's love? And where does sanity abide except in Him? Yeah, that makes sense. Like, what is dependable except God's love? Why not stay with that? And where does sanity abide except in Him? The one who speaks for Him can show you this. In the alternative He chose specially for you. It is God's will that you remember this, and so emerge from the deepest mourning into perfect joy. Accept the function that has been assigned to you in God's own plan to show His Son that hell and heaven are different and not the same, and that in heaven they are all the same, without the differences which would have made a hell of heaven and a heaven of hell, had such an insanity been possible. See, this is very much complete. This is so complete. So what is dependable except God's love? Yes, you say, yeah, of course, yeah. God's love is dependable. And where does sanity abide except in Him? Yeah, that makes sense too. So where does He abide? He abides in you. The one who speaks for Him can show you this. In the alternative He chose especially for you. See, we're talking about the alternative. It is God's will that you remember this and so emerge from the deepest mourning into perfect joy. And here it says like, yeah, accept the function. Oops, accept the function that's given you. Why not accept this function? Wait. Accept the function that has been assigned to you in God's own plan to show you His Son that hell and heaven are different. They're not the same. So that's really great. So we heard a lot. This is amazing. It's so great that we did the meditation before that with the specific words that we have used. It's like I see now how perfect that fits. It's like, here's your experience of something that has nothing to do with your descriptions. It's in fact a reference to your holiness. So you are touched by that. You actually start to have an experience with that. And now you see, like, that place is where the love of God is. That place in you is where the love of God is. That place is where sanity is, where everything makes perfect sense. Now you were touched by this. Like now you literally carry that with you in your experience. You have that as a reference point, in other words. It's like you have it as a reference point within yourself. Now you go about your day and you do whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like you take this with you. And whenever you return back to this moment of silence for yourself, you remember that again. Now in this light that you are experiencing, in fact that light extends to the ones that you're meeting. Whether you are aware of that or not, doesn't matter, but it's like you carry that with you. So this is how it spreads. It's like a fire, it spreads. So suddenly there's inspiration of someone who needed it, who was asking for help and you showed up, or who knows how that goes. Like that can in so many ways, but be sure that it is because you allow yourself to be touched by this light that you start to extend it automatically. Now you grow the certainty that is so by seeing that it actually works, like it really works. Not that you need confirmation of that. No, you just start to share in the joy that is, caused, like that opened this up. So that's so beautiful about the light and coming into a forgiveness instead of a condemnation, coming into recognizing that somebody is in fact asking for help, and that you acknowledge that, or like there's no need to condemn or to judge or any of those things, because then in fact you put yourself in prison. The world you see is based on sacrifice of oneness. The world you see with your eyes is based on the sacrifice of oneness. It's a picture of complete disunity and total lack of joining. Now, anyone needs proof of that? Probably not. And your news app is great for that. It will show you immediately. Oneness is sacrificed. The complete disunity and total lack of joining. Yeah, that's the world you see with your eyes. Around each entity is built a wall, so seeming solid that it looks as if what is inside can never reach without, and what is out can never reach and join with what is locked away within the wall. Each part must sacrifice the other part to keep itself complete. For if they joined, each one would lose its own identity, and by their separation are their selves maintained. So this is quite insane, but you got used to it. That's the amazing part. So it's like it's a picture of complete disunity and total lack of joining, and as if everyone has made a prison around himself, completely impenetrable and never completely giving oneself in order to, say, in fact, to prevent yourself from losing your identity. So you protect your identity, in other words. And so apparently you're aware that you can lose it. So it's not really yours, otherwise you wouldn't be able to lose it. That's one step further. The Holy Spirit offers you release from every problem that you think you have. They are the same to him because each one, regardless of the form it seems to take, is a demand that someone suffers loss and make a sacrifice that you might gain. And when the situation is worked out, so no one loses, is the problem gone. Because it was an error in perception that now has been corrected. One mistake is not more difficult for him to bring to truth than another, for there is but one mistake, the whole idea that loss is possible and could result in gain for anyone. If this were true, then God would be unfair, sin would be possible, attack be justified, and vengeance fair. So an example of this is like, the problem is that you think you can lose. No, let's use it. Let's use a comparison. It's like, well, I'm doing actually pretty good. My neighbor is doing really bad. So when I see him, I'm actually really happy that I'm doing so well. So you see, in this example, it's like I take it to myself, literally, that his loss is my gain. Like there's an exchange going on. He suffers while I'm actually feeling pretty good. This is a very common one. Or I have this great boat. My neighbor cannot afford it. And yeah, it's a pity. Yeah, I feel for him. He cannot have a boat. Or who knows, whatever insane idea. It's like this is how we compare. And in this comparison, you make a deal with yourself that you come out pretty good. You save yourself, literally, and thinking that you are not losing by the loss of your brother. Like whatever you perceive, you think that can be of someone else, while you're the one perceiving it. So that doesn't really work. That doesn't really work. Now this is just an example, a superficial example, but you see this back in human behavior and the way that you think about, for instance, your health. Like, I'm healthy. I'm not like my neighbor because they have blah, 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 and I don't have that. I feel pretty good. So it's always like measured against something else. It's always compared. It's in a certain sense, it's always competitive. And it's never going to make anyone happy in that sense. So this here comes the holy inspiration, like the Holy Spirit comes into this situation, giving you a new vision, where you see that you're one with your brother. Like it was all a matter of perception. You thought your brother was separate from you. Now suddenly you recognize he's not separate. No, you share a common goal. Literally, you both have the same holiness. You have the same source. There's no separation at all, because he's not a body on planet Earth. No, he's in your consciousness, like you're literally united. And in that experience, now suddenly you are inspired to in fact join in giving each other hands instead of fighting each other. You see, there's a common interest. So you have your giving to one another that would really be beneficial for all. You know, like this. So this whole separation idea is dissolving in the basically coming to new ideas, new inspiration that comes to you, where you start to see what you have done. Well, this was what I was talking about in the beginning too. It's like you will receive new ideas. You never thought of it like this. That was a mistake. That's okay. So now you can see it in a different light, and it starts to make a lot of sense. So the Holy Spirit offers you release from every problem that you think you have. They are the same to him because each one, regardless of the form it seems to take, is a demand that someone suffers loss and make a sacrifice that you might gain. This is one mistake in any form. This one mistake in any form has one correction. There is no loss. To think there is a mistake. There is no such thing as loss. You have no problems, though you think you have. And yet you could not think so if you saw them vanish one by one, without regard to size, complexity, or place and time, or any attribute which you perceive that makes each one seem different from the rest. Think not the limits you impose on what you see can limit God in any way. And this is what we say, like in God, everything is possible. It's like there is no problem. There is only a mistake in perception. You can see it not right, and by that you think you have a problem. So here it says you have no problems, though you think you have. And yet you could not think so if you saw them vanish one by one, which is really what is going to happen. So regardless to size, complexity, place or time, like no, there's no differences at all in. It's like there's no level of difficulty in the problems that you perceive. They're all the same. They're a mistake. It was a matter of how you look at it. And you see that there is no loss. There is no such thing as loss. But you just thought that there was. Okay, so now we head over to the borderland. There's a borderland of thought that stands between this world and heaven. It is not a place, and when you reach it, it is apart from time. Here is the meeting place where thoughts are brought together, where conflicting values meet and all illusions are laid down beside the truth, where they are judged to be untrue. This borderland is just beyond the gate of heaven. Here is every thought made pure and wholly simple. Here is sin denied and everything that is received instead. See, there's a borderland of thought that stands between this world and heaven. Now you can say like, okay, so where is that then? And I say like, well, luckily I use the meditation as an example. It's like, suddenly you were lifted out of this construct that you found yourself in a moment ago. You're literally brought into this borderland, a temporary place of thought, of thinking, where you put down your problems for a moment, where you just leave them be for a second, where you are open for an alternative, for a different experience of yourself, where you allow yourself to be taken, literally to be taken out of your limitations, for however far and deep you want to go into that. So this is like the borderland of thought, the borderland. And it's like, it's not heaven itself, but it's on the way to heaven, you could say. On the way to heaven. You have already put down your problems for just a moment. You can pick them up any time, but here you put them down. And one thing was amazing, that it was like feeling so good to do that for a moment. It brought you peace of mind, it brought you rest, it brought you into stillness. You know, it's like it's a totally different experience altogether. Now this you can seek any time during the day when you think like, oh wow, I got so caught up in my construct here, in my world. I really think I have problems, I have this, I have that, I have no idea, I'm feeling overwhelmed and I feel this, feel that. It's like, okay, here, now rest and be still and put down all your ideas for just a second. Now let Spirit, like in fact, take care of it. Let Spirit reevaluate your problems, and allow yourself to be taken by that, just to be lifted up out of it. So this is the lessons of A Course in Miracles. We do this on a daily basis. You practiced it by doing it a couple of times a day, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe who knows how long. But it's more like when you feel that you're overwhelmed or that you're struggling, or when you feel that you feel off, so to speak, this is your time to come back to yourself, to return back to the borderland for a moment. This is the journey's end. This is what we're talking about. It's like it's the journey's end. Literally, you put down everything there. We have referred to it as the real world. And yet there is a contradiction here in that the words imply a limited reality, a partial truth, a segment of the universe made true. This is because knowledge makes no attack upon perception. They are brought together, and only one continues past the gate where oneness is. Salvation is a borderland where place and time and choice have meaning still, and yet it can be seen that they are temporary, out of place, and every choice has been already made. Now this is such an incredible paragraph. It's like, this is the journey's end. We have referred to it as the real world. And yet there's a contradiction here, in that the words imply a limited reality, a partial truth, a segment of the universe made true. This is because knowledge makes no attack upon perception, like it's not fighting against perception, even though perception will always be temporal. They are brought together, and only one continues past the gate where oneness is. Like, knowledge doesn't know about differences, it doesn't use your eyes, it doesn't use limitation, it doesn't use any of those things. So it's like knowledge is, in fact, omniscience. It's an all-knowing. And all-knowing is not related to perception at all. No, it's eternal. They are brought together, and only one continues past the gate where oneness is. Salvation is a borderland where place and time and choice still have meaning, yet it can be seen that they are temporary, out of place, and every choice has already been made. Now that's a nice contradiction, like salvation is a borderland where place and time and choice have meaning still. And it is like you can return back to the borderland, to this borderland, and you can go from it. So you have a choice. That would be the basic choice that you have, to stay in it or to go from it. And yet it can be seen that they are temporary, out of place, and every choice has already been made. Like whatever you're going to do, the real part of it is when perception transfers into knowledge, you also enter into a state that is eternal. Now these are words that I'm using, so that doesn't cover it completely, but it's more like we're hanging out here in the borderland, you could say. We hang out here in the borderland where we put down our ideas, let them be corrected by spirit, seeing that there is no problem, seeing that all choices are already made, and in fact we hand everything over for the moment that we do that. Then we return back into time. If we want to, we have that choice still. We do that. So this is exactly where you find yourself. Until you cross over, you could say, into knowledge. Then these things are of no choice anymore. Then there's no such thing anymore. Then simply you're gone into eternity. Be not content with future happiness. It has no meaning, and it is not your just reward. Like, ask for more. Do not be content with future happiness, for you have cause for freedom now. What profits freedom in a prisoner's form? Why should deliverance be disguised as death? Delay is senseless, and the reasoning that would maintain effects of present cause must be delayed until a future time, is merely a denial of effect that consequence and cause must come as one. Look not to time, but to the little space between you still to be delivered from. So it's like, don't focus on the future, don't focus on the idea of when am I going to get this? When finally am I going to get this? No, we're not looking like that. We're not looking in the future for a relief. Now it's like, well, just stand right here. Now let's be still. Let's put down all our ideas for a moment, and recognizing that delay is in fact a delay of suffering. Then you choose to suffer more. Then you choose to be in pain more. Here's exactly the point where you can put all that down. Why delay that? That does not make sense. So this is, so like all this is given as inspiration, not as an condemnation, or not as a you're not doing it right, you got to stop, or you have to do it now like this. There's no force at all. So this is the borderland characteristic, you could say, is that you still have a choice, because you believe that an idea of choice has meaning. And that will disappear, and then it becomes easier for you. But up to that moment, look at the little gap, it says here in what we just read. Like, look at the little gap that you impose between your complete salvation and your idea about yourself. There's still a little gap. Well, ask for help to cross over that little gap. Let it be filled with the love of God. See that all the help is given to make that one little move, you could say, so that the bodies will melt and your idea about this world disappears, because you don't need that idea for anything. It was just a temporary idea you held about yourself. So that's why this is really given in this instance, especially for you. That's so great. So there was a nice activating music. So that's great. That's wonderful. You immediately feel everything opening up again. It's like, oh, you close your eyes and, whoa, thank you. Wow, great. So, yeah, so that doesn't stop. It's always available. You might forget about it, but it's still available. And that's so lovely and so great to remember that with you. So thank you so much for being present in and experiencing that with me, with each other here. It's really great. So chapter 27, that also means that next week will be the last meeting that we have with the miracle worker, at least in this formula. We're going to do 4 chapters instead of 3. And that is because there are 31 chapters in the book, and I decided to bundle them up into 10 meetings in total. So anyway, doesn't matter. We continue. The body and the dream, or the healing of the dream, is what it says in the blue book, the healing of the dream. Now here there are some beautiful expressions too, especially the last one, but I leave that for later, of course. That's the real teaser. That's so great. Wow, look at this here. Into this empty space from which the goal of sin has been removed is heaven free to be remembered. Here you go. It's like in this empty space where you have left your ideas, where you have left every idea of sin, where you have left every idea of what you think you are, like completely undone of your, say, substitute self-identity, the one that you thought you were. Into this empty space is heaven free to be remembered. Here its peace can come and perfect healing take the place of death. Like, how refreshing is that? Perfect healing takes the place of death. Like, if this isn't resurrection, then what is? The body can become a sign of life, a promise of redemption, a breath of immortality to those grown sick of breathing in the fetid scent of death. Let it have healing as its purpose. Then will it send forth the message it received, and by its health and its loveliness proclaim the truth and value that it represents. Let it receive the power to represent an endless life, forever unattacked. And to your brother let its message be, behold me, brother, at your hand I live. Ah, this is so beautiful. Into this empty space from which the goal of sin has been removed is heaven free to be remembered. Here its peace can come and perfect healing take the place of death. Now here the body is described. The body can become a sign of life, a promise of redemption, a breath of immortality to those grown sick of breathing in the fetid scent of death. Let it have healing as its purpose. Let your body have healing as its purpose. Then will it send forth the message it's received, and by its health and loveliness proclaim the truth and value that it represents. Let it receive the power to represent an endless life, forever unattacked. And to your brother let its message be, behold me, brother, at your hand I live. So that is the new inspiration of spirits, like using the body as a means for communication and not for anything else. Like you literally become the representative. Even in physical form, you become the representative of your life eternal. How great is that? And your hand is available to hold your brother's hand and say, come with me. Yes, remember this with me. And hold my hand, because at your hand I live. Like in our shared love that we feel for each other, literally life is given to us. And we rejoice in that union. Now this is literally, like, that is literally what is happening. Like, hey, yeah, let's be clear, that's really what is happening in the moments that we meet, in the way that we connect with one another, in the way that we recognize each other. It's like we are actually practicing that on a daily basis. Now in the 40 days, on a daily basis, we remember that. Like we hold each other's hands in that. We form a circle of atonement. We don't have to suffer through a transformational process. No, we rejoice in the light of this recognition. That is so great. Our bodies have changed in purpose. Now it's not to attack each other or anything. No, this is to, okay, let's hold hands. Here I am. I can actually speak to you. I can express it. I even use my hands for that too. It's like everything is going to be used. Your creativity, your expression, your singing, your happiness. Literally, you become a representative of life eternal. Now that's a totally different function that you fulfill as when you think that you have to protect yourself in a prison house with other prisoners. And it's a totally different story. So this is like such an incredible change of presence. It's unbelievable. And the more you allow it and the more certain you become in it, it enhances it in everyone that you meet. So it's like a shared experience to the benefit of all. The simple way to let this be achieved is merely this. Here. Now here. Listen to this. The simple way to let this be achieved, changing the function of your body, is to let the body have no purpose from the past. When you were sure, you knew its purpose was to foster guilt. You used the body for guilt, for blaming, for who knows what you did. For this insists your crippled picture. For this insists your crippled picture is a lasting sign of what it represents. This leaves no space in which a different view, another purpose, can be given. You do not know its purpose, but you gave illusions of a purpose to a thing you made to hide your function from yourself. This thing without a purpose cannot hide the function that the Holy Spirit gave. Let then its purpose and your function both be reconciled at last and seen as one. Well, this is what I mean. It's like there's the inspiration. Spirit knows how to make use of you in your body, using the body as a means for communication. It's like then it starts to make perfect sense and is being used in the way it should be used. Like literally it is used for where it should be used for. Not related to your ideas about it any longer. You let go of those ideas because that was based on an idea of survival, of reproduction, of who knows what you thought you were doing here. But now that all is gone, like your body is going to be used in a new way, no relationship to the past whatsoever. No, you're going to be the expression of, in fact, you're going to be inspired by Spirit and let your body be used as a means for communication, for recognizing your oneness with your brother and living that. Now, is healing frightening, you might ask? And it's like, to many, yes. For accusation is a bar to love, and damaged bodies are accusers. And what does that mean? It's like, for accusation is a bar to love, and damaged bodies are accusers. It's like you literally use your body to prove that your brother is guilty. I have a scar here, I have this, I have that, and that happened to me. So you use it to prove that your brother is guilty. But now, you're not, if you allow healing, you have to distance yourself, literally let go of those ideas that you have maintained in the past, that proved that you were right. Yes, your brother did attack you, yes, that. So you believe that, and you suffered the consequences of it. But now you let all that go, you forgive that, you let it go, you forget about it, and allow yourself to be new. But is that healing frightening? Yeah, to many, yes, it is. They stand firmly in the way of trust and peace, proclaiming that the frail can have no trust and that the damaged have no ground for peace. Who has been injured by his brother and could love and trust him still? Who can do that? Who has been injured by his brother and could love and trust him still? He has attacked and will attack again. Protect him not, because your damaged body shows that you must be protected from him. You have proof of that. You use your body for that. To forgive may be an act of charity, but not his due. Like he has no right for that. He may be pitied for his guilt, but not exonerated. And if you forgive him his transgressions, you but add to all the guilt that he has really earned. Like that that makes it scary to you, because you prove that he is guilty and that what he did to you was unforgivable. Now you can prove it with your body. Yeah. So then healing is frightening. Okay, so we take another step here. Power cannot oppose, for opposition would weaken it, and weakened power is a contradiction in ideas. Weak strength is meaningless, and power used to weaken is employed to limit. And therefore it must be limited and weak, because that is its purpose. Power is unopposed to be itself. No weakness can intrude on it without changing it into something it is not. To weaken is to limit and impose an opposite that contradicts the concept that it attacks. And by this does it join to the idea as something it is not, and make it unintelligible. Who can understand a double concept such as weakened power or hateful love? Okay, so I'm reading the next one after this too. Okay, so this doesn't really fit then with what I wanted to read. Wait a minute. So this is like I used the idea, you can see it as healing frightening. So I might use this a little bit from out of the book too. So here it says in the second paragraph after this is healing frightening. And the next part is then, the unhealed cannot pardon, for they are the witnesses that pardon is unfair. They would retain the consequences of the guilt they overlook. Yet no one can forgive a sin that he believes is real. Yeah, this is really, we go really deep into this. This is the chapter 27, part 2. We might use that in the 40 days beyond the body, because it's literally, this is exactly the point where the body is used to prove the guilt of your brother, like just like we read here. And so that asks for more attention, that asks for more words than I put up here. So now the power that I was talking about in the fourth paragraph that I used is this. The power cannot oppose. It's like there's no such thing as weakened power or something. It's like no weakened power or hateful love. That would be a contradiction in terms. That does not make sense. Now you can say like, well, God is all-powerful, like is a total power and cannot be opposed by anything. Now the deeper layer that is actually then being shared is this. It's like the deeper layer is in God's all-powerfulness, and the omnipotent God is like it is all-powerful. It does not have an opposing power. Now if I think in my relationships that there's a power opposing me, then I've literally placed it outside myself, but also I believe that I can defend myself against this power. So this is basically the whole construct of problem that you have. Like it's the basis of the problem is thinking that there's something opposing your ways, that something is attacking you. And this is the whole basis that we look at. So there is no opposing power, but you cannot see that when you believe that your brother is guilty. Here's the big change that will occur. So chapter 27 is great to use for that, because in fact the fear of healing has a connection with that. If you still believe that your brother did that to you and he's guilty of it, proven by your body as you see yourself, then it's unforgivable. Simple as that. But if you let go of that idea and let your body be used in a different way, by spirit, by inspiration, then that dissolves, in fact. Then suddenly you can no longer hold on to that old idea. But that is a real decision that you make in the right time for yourself. So that's why I want to use a little bit more words to give this a place. And because it asks for more, and I feel like very much inspired to use this in the next couple of weeks too, because this is like the crux where also the resurrection becomes apparent. Like what is the resurrection but giving up every idea of death? And what is forgiving your brother? In fact, forgiving him for the things that you thought he did do to you first, but then seeing that he could never have done that to you. I just perceived it wrongly. I have seen this amiss. Now I can come to a place of forgiveness just by letting it go. Not by proving anything, not by justifying anything, by just letting it go. And here, then I enter back into this into this space, in fact, what we were talking about in the beginning of this chapter. So that puts it into place. So I'm happy that I took a little, like a couple of more lines from the chapter. Otherwise it would be such a miss, and this asks for way more. So we're going to use that for sure. And we didn't do much chapter 27 yet, and 27 and up is so beautiful, so I don't want to miss any of it. So this is power cannot oppose. We saw that. In quietness. And this is the point of, okay, quietness. It is, I let go of my ideas. I put down, or put up my sword, but I put down the things that I've used against my brother. In quietness are all things answered, and is every problem quietly resolved. In conflict there can be no answer, no resolution, for its purpose is to make no resolution possible, and to ensure no answer will be plain. A problem set in conflict has no answer, for it is seen in different ways. And what would be an answer from one point of view is not an answer in another light. You are in conflict. Thus it must be clear you cannot answer anything at all, for conflict has no limited effects. Yet if God gave an answer, there must be a way in which your problems are resolved, for what He wills already has been done. Now here, this is really incredible. It's like in quietness are all things answered, and is every problem quietly resolved. So this is the funny part that you see acted out in the world. Like you see it acted out, like there's conflict and we try to come to a solution and we work it out and we use all our powers, opposing powers, to make it work, to come to a compromise. In fact, it's not a resolution, it's a compromise. So it is not resolved. In other words, the problem still is there. It didn't resolve. Even if it would temporarily end the war, it would not bring peace. We see this acted out on a daily basis, really. It's like it's always, in the nature of it is conflict. Now what can come, one party says, no, you have to look at it like this, and the other party says, no, you have to look at it like that. And here's another party who says, no, well, let's forget about your opinions, this is the way you should look at it. And there's the conflict, like it doesn't resolve at all. And this is, you see beautiful examples of that, or not beautiful, but you see very clear examples of that. When you open your news app, when I say, or turn on your television, So this is say great. Here it says in quietness. Like if you would just take time to all put down your ideas, if you would just take a moment to breathe, to relax, to give it all some space, you would see that everything is resolved. Then what could possibly be your conflict? We saw this in the meditation. I keep coming back to that, but it's like you see this in meditation. In stillness is everything resolved. What is your problem? What is your conflict? It just resolved. By you putting down your ideas, by a mutual putting down of ideas, by breathing in and coming to the recognition that there cannot be an opposing power. As long as power seems to be opposing, I'm basically in the middle of a conflict. In conflict, nothing can be resolved. So how fundamental and like very useful practical information is being shared that you see fail with your eyes continuously. Is literally the world is proof that such thing does not exist. But here you come in as the light of the world, recognizing that in stillness everything is resolved. Like that's a divine wisdom that you carry in you. And that is so easy, so simple, that that it's very inspiring to share it. I love it. Thank you. That's why I love to share it. Come to the holy instant and be healed. For nothing that is there received is left behind on your returning to the world. Come to the holy instant and be healed. Take time to let yourself be healed. For nothing that is there received in the holy instant is left behind on your returning to the world. You carry your whole treasure house with you. And being blessed, you will bring blessing. You're just being blessed. Now you will bring this blessing wherever you go. You don't need to do anything for that. Just doing your thing, like just being yourself, you could say. Life is given you to give the dying world. Life is given you to give the dying world. And suffering eyes no longer will accuse, but shine in thanks to you who blessing gave. The holy instant's radiance will light your eyes and give them sight to see beyond all suffering and see Christ's face instead. Healing replaces suffering. Who looks on one cannot perceive the other, for they cannot both be there. And what you see, the world will witness and will witness too. See how beautiful this is. So come to the holy instant and be healed, for nothing that is there received is left behind on your returning to the world. You take it with you wherever you go, is what it says. Dream softly of your sinless brother, who unites with you in holy innocence. And from this dream the Lord of Heaven will himself awaken his beloved Son. Dream of your brother's kindnesses instead of dwelling in your dreams on his mistakes. Select the thoughtfulness to dream about instead of counting up the hurts he gave. Forgive him his illusions and give thanks to him for all the helpfulness he gave. And do not brush aside his many gifts, because he is not perfect in your dreams. He represents his Father, whom you see as offering both life and death to you. Dream softly of your brothers, of your sinless brother, who unites with you in holy innocence. Wow. The secret of salvation, this is my last sheet here. It's like the secret of salvation, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about salvation here, recognizing the innocence in your brother. The secret of salvation is but this, that you are doing this unto yourself. No matter what the form of the attack, this is still true. Whoever takes the role of enemy or attacker, this is still the truth. Whatever seems to be the cause of any pain or suffering you feel, this is still true. For you would not react at all to figures in a dream. You knew that you were dreaming. Let them be as hateful and as vicious as they may. They could have no effect on you unless you fail to recognize it is your dream. And this is for the idea of that you can be attacked, and that you're careful, and that you're taking distance. In fact, you cannot place that on your brother. So it's like you're doing it to yourself. Now, this is not in contradiction with the previous paragraph I shared. It is just like it's one step further. Dream softly of your sinless brother. Like this is in fact the invitation, the inspiration of this moment, who unites with you in innocence. Because if you don't experience this, if you don't, you recognize that whatever you bring onto yourself, you literally do that yourself. Nobody else is doing that. So by recognizing that that's why it's the secret of salvation. It's like by recognizing that you are doing that, you don't blame your brother for it, but you say like, oh my God, I just need help. That was a mistake. However could I have thought of that, of my brother like this? Okay, so that was chapter 27 in compromised, very much like compressed way expressed, but so beautiful. So I'm so happy that I share this with you. So thank you so much for your attention. And we continue next time with chapter 28 to 31. So be there and enjoy with me the last 4 chapters of A Course in Miracles. It's totally amazing. Thank you for everything. And I love you. Thank you so much. Bye for now.